Some like it hot, others like it cold, and some weird people like it in the pot 9 days old. Me, I like sports. And Greg, if we were on a hike together and you fell down and got a boo boo on your leg, uh, there is no way I would be able to put a band aid on there because my hands are shaking enough to trace a scatter plot graph. Uh, I need sports.
This is your intro. This is the intro you've been hyping up to me for all this time. As
Yes,
the world is coming to an end, and your intro is talking about hiking,
yes,
which
yes.
you would never catch me dead on because I prefer staying in urban areas and seeing landmarks and sites and sports. As
Yeah, but the world's ending, so you gotta like change your whole perspective of life and move out to the wilderness and try and find something else to do.
I mean, I was just gonna hunker down and and keep Twitch open 24/7 just to
No, no, you
entertain
gotta go
myself.
come with me and find a farm out in Wyoming.
Oh,
Uh,
I thought you were going to say a Lancaster that will just bunk with Marty.
no, well, no, Marty's out in New Mexico.
Oh yeah, right. Anyway, we should probably get on with the news.
Yes, so sports. So I've always said the worst day of the year for me is the day after the MLB All Star game because there's no baseball, basketball, football, or hockey going on. And that's been the case for like 5 days now.
Yeah.
And I'm not okay with any of that. And I'm like twitching and I'm like, and I keep checking my phone and Janine keeps yelling at me. She's like, Joe, stop looking at your phone. There's nothing to see. I was like, I'm sorry. It's a habit. So, um, yeah, I'm not doing quite well. What about you?
Well, there's a lot of backlog stuff I'm going through. Dude, there was a lot of things I forgot happened in 2012. Did you remember in 2012 that A Rod and Derek Jeter got confused on the base paths because Yoenis Cespedes caught a ball but then dropped it, and the umpire called the wrong out.
No, I don't actually.
Well, I do. I know that now, along with hundreds of other things, as we clear through the video backlog at work.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You're like the master of all the video. You're the video keeper.
The video miser.
Video miser. Does
Yeah,
that come
but
with like
yeah,
a robe and a fake long beard?
I mean, I have a beard now, so it's not completely fake.
Yeah, but it's got to be like long and gray, like Dumbledore.
Well, by the end of these or so weeks, it'll be long. I'm not sure about the gray part.
Now you can dye it.
Yeah,
Have some powdered donuts.
yeah. But anyway, this is all because the uh, the NBA finally had what was the inevitable going to happen as we were talking about stadiums closing to fans and
Yep.
what sports would be with it. And the answer is there would be no sports because a player finally tested positive for the coronavirus, and once the NBA had that and suspended their season indefinitely, every other sport followed suit immediately after the NBA suspended their season. The NHL did the same thing. MLB at least played their 1 o'clock spring training games the next day, but canceled everything after that, which got some flack when Jake Arrieta got injured mildly in the spring training contest that day. But as far as I know, nothing serious came of that. And
Uh,
then everyone else followed suit. The PGA, NASCAR, and then finally the last one to hold out, the XFL.
Actually, NASCAR, while they did suspend the first two races, there was talks to do the Texas Motor Speedway at the end of the month. But now they have definitely pushed everything back until I think after May.
Yeah, the CDC
So
has recommended that all all events of I think 250 people or more be postponed for 8 weeks, and everyone is heeding that warning.
yeah, I mean it's crazy right now. I don't know if you've seen, but apparently here in I mean I'm in Passaic, but I'm like literally if I go down my street, I'm in Bergen County. Um, but Bergen County has now enacted blue laws through the entire week, and for those people who don't know what blue laws are, here in good old Bergen County, New Jersey.
It allows you to drive on the highways for one day of the week.
Yeah, basically you can't go to you can't buy clothes or anything, furniture. Like if you go to a Staples, you can buy a notebook, but you can't buy a desk chair. It's kind of a dumb law, but now it's sort of like it makes sense, I guess, sort of right now.
Well, right now it's more than just that. New
Yeah,
Jersey has a recommended curfew of 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. I imagine within a week or so they'll replace the recommended with mandatory. All restaurants and basically all non-essential businesses are shutting down,
yep,
moving everyone they can out
yep.
of the office
Restaurants,
for
I
remote.
heard they're still allowed to do curbside pickup though,
Yeah,
and
curbside pick
delivery. But that still
delivery.
hurts so many businesses. Like
Yeah,
a lot of places, uh, they rely on people coming in and tipping the waitresses and whatnot, and it's just going to hurt business. And with everyone being afraid to go out, I mean, who's really going to want to do curbside pickup at this point?
yeah, but
Unless if you're like on your way home from work, but so many people are working from home now. Although most of those people are the rich 1%, and they can and they can afford to not be working for 3-4 weeks while someone like in my situation, if I'm told pack my bags and don't work for 3 weeks, I'm kind of screwed because unemployment's not going to pay student loans and other bills. So that's going to be a big problem.
no, it's not, and that's why I applaud in the sports world. I believe Zion Williamson of the
Mm-hmm.
Pelicans
Yes.
and the Ilitch family who owns the Detroit Tigers and the Red Wings are all creating funds to help seasonal sports employees who were
Yep.
supposed to be paid for games that now are not being played.
Yes, I believe Kevin Love is doing that as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, and I hope more teams do it. I would say
Yeah.
especially the Knicks because you probably heard this the day before this broke down on Thursday. The NBA had a meeting in which they would talk about what they would do with the coronavirus while they were still intending to finish out the season. And the one team that said we still want to have fans in the stands until we're told to not to by the government was the Knicks.
Yeah, well, James
But
Dolan, I've said it before, he's an idiot and he shouldn't be leading anything. Now, whether or not it's his official word on whether he wanted fans or not, he's still like the quote unquote owner of the team. Uh, so it's going to be his fault anyway. He's going to take the blame and he's an idiot.
I mean, it's a Dolan. Whether it's in New York or it's in Cleveland, Dolans will always be blamed. They're up there with the Jeffrey Lurias and the 1980s George Steinbrenner.
Yep.
But anyway, speaking of idiots, can we talk a little about Rudy Goldberg, who, as you guys know, is patient zero in the sporting world as the first player who was
At least
uh,
confirmed.
confirmed to have coronavirus. And can we just say how much of basically an idiot he is? That a few days before now infamous game, uh, or not game, if you want to go with, Rudy Goldberg had a press conference, and as he was leaving, he like jokingly touched all the microphones, like breathed on it, like saying, "Haha, coronavirus, they don't touch it." And now he actually had it at the time, and now not only did he infect his teammates, we know at least a couple of players on the Utah Jazz are infected as well, but he also very well could have infected those reporters and staff in that room just over what clearly isn't a harmless joke at this point,
Yeah.
man.
I mean, obviously, like as we stated last week, that this is a serious sort of thing, but uh, we both had thought at the time it's not as bad. Like we knew it was going to get bad, but it's not like as bad as it should be. And I'm
Yeah.
still sort of on that side of the fence. I mean, obviously with like the curfews and the all week blue laws being enacted, obviously it's a little bit more serious. But honestly, I mean, you've known me for what, over 10 years now? Um,
Definitely longer than that.
so I think you probably know I would probably make a joke sort of like what Rudy did. I'm just like that terrible of a person.
No,
I,
I
I'm,
would.
I mean, like amongst friends, in front
Yeah,
of
amongst
like,
friends in the
uh, uh,
public eye.
but in the public eye like that, that's like really crossing the line for that. But like if it's amongst friends, yeah, I would definitely do that. But if you're an NBA professional sports player, there is no need to be doing that.
Yeah,
Um,
I'd imagine after all this blows over, Cards Against Humanity will have a coronavirus pack within the year. But
yes, yes,
yeah,
they will.
as you said, that the I agree with you that it's not as bad as it could be. It's still pretty bad. I will say that, especially since they're still working on a vaccine and a treatment plan to work. But in the grand scope of things, the disease is a lot tamer than some of the more serious recent diseases to come around, like Spanish flu 100 years ago, SARS, MERS, bird flu. That being said, I'd rather be overcautious than careless in this case. So
Yeah,
if it takes 8, 10 weeks to get the sports back, so be it. As long as everyone's safe, healthy, and all that. But that also poses an interesting question. Like, you have to ask now, what changes because everyone's on a 2 month, 3 month hiatus? That the NBA, there was some talk. It was knocked down today that maybe Kevin Durant might be able to come back
yeah,
for the Nets. He was expected to be out the whole
yep.
season, but now the game, because of how late the season might resume, uh, there was a reasonable chance. But Durant's business partner, Rich Kleiman, just said that there isn't a realistic opportunity
Yeah,
for that.
I wouldn't push his return if I'm Durant. I mean, I know Steph Curry came back just to play these last back half of games before everything got shut down. But the Warriors were doing so bad this year that they just needed some sort of like bright light and get everything sort of back together. And but as for the Nets, they could be a contending team come next year. But I wouldn't push it because an Achilles injury is way worse than like a broken hand injury.
Right.
So I think Durant, the smartest move for him would be not to come back and force it. Give himself that entire year and a half to recover and be ready. I mean, we saw him sort of force it last year, and then the unfortunate injury happened. He went from calf injury to Achilles. Um, so Kevin Durant definitely should not come back.
Yeah. You want to
Um,
know who does get off scot free from injuries? The New York Yankees. Remember how
yes.
much flack we were giving them for not taking care of Aaron Judge and James Paxton over the winter? Now
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't matter because by the time baseball's back, both of them will be healthy.
And
Stanton will
hopefully
be healthy.
Stanton. Yep.
Uh, Severino is still going to be
Yeah.
lost, but uh, they're going to be fine. For the Astros, Justin Verlander was expected
Mm-hmm.
to miss the start of the season. He'll be fine, presuming, of course, that in spring training 2.0, whenever that starts, that no one else gets injured. But everyone who was expected to miss the beginning of the season is now going to be fine. And speaking of the season, uh, the earliest at this point the season could start is early June. I know some people are saying Memorial Day, but you got to remember these guys need time to get back up to speed.
Yeah.
And you'll need like a
Because they were
3 to 4
just
week.
hitting their strides there. They
Yeah,
were just starting to pitch full games, play all day, getting the rosters trimmed down.
yeah, and now you're gonna have to start back from square one.
Yeah.
But
Well, then
uh,
again, unless if they keep doing pickup Sandlot games with
yeah,
Trevor Bauer.
although I'm not sure how much teams would frown upon
Yeah,
those.
or really
Especially,
how legal it was. But did
yeah,
you see they had a trash can?
yeah, I did. Yeah, but the biggest news to come out of this is even though the season is going to start in June at the earliest, maybe even July, the owners still want to play as many games as possible. They want to preserve as much of the 162 game schedule as they can. Now, I'm not sure how realistic it is. I imagine the longer this goes, they will have to pare down some games, but
No,
know,
you know, I think, I mean, obviously this isn't perfect because I'm just thinking a bit on the fly here.
yeah.
But why not go back like 60 years and just do double headers?
The Players Association would not like that. They're already complaining about not enough off days as it is, and you're going to
No,
have them
but
play more.
I know they bumped up the active roster from 25 to 26, but I think this time maybe you bump it up to like 30 or something. You have a 40-man roster and you're allowed to use like just like 30 guys.
Yeah, there has been talk about making a temporary 28-man roster for like the first month of the season, so that way they don't have to have spring training go on as long, and they can use like the first month of the season to finish stretching out those pitchers because, but only takes a hitter like 2 weeks to get ready. It takes the pitcher the whole month to do it. But
Well, not all hitters.
yeah,
Mark
not
Teixeira would love this because then he wouldn't have to hit in April.
yeah, but the biggest thing is that the fact that the owners want to keep the season as much of the season as
Well,
possible.
it's all that
means,
money.
Yeah, but it means we realistically could see regular season games in November. We could
Yeah.
see a Christmas World Series, honestly.
Yeah, but
Now,
I don't know how they're gonna pitch in possible. Well, then again, global warming, so
well,
we
it's also
won't get snow.
yeah. They'll use neutral site stadiums as well if it gets bad. They'll have contingency plans. I'm not sure how much I'd like that from a fan perspective. Just
Yeah, especially when
because-
the Yankees are gonna win the World Series.
yeah, the Yankees or the White Sox. Well, maybe not the White Sox, but they'll probably play in postseason games. And you really want to have postseason games played in Tropicana Field?
No.
Well, I mean, they might play them in there anyway. We know the Rays, but
Hmm.
or Miami. That's probably a better example of a team that's not going to get postseason games. Baseball is not the Super Bowl. Right? They've never had a situation where you have a neutral site playoff game.
Well, I mean, if the Yankees make the World Series, I mean, there's only like a handful of stadiums where they don't really have a majority fan base.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, you play them in Tampa Bay. It's a pseudo home crowd.
Yeah. I mean, even Camden Yards, there's more Yankee
Yeah.
fans there.
Yeah, and then there's other things to think about right now. I know college baseball they're working with MLB to figure out what to do with eligibility and the draft.
Mhm.
I expect the draft will be very much delayed. There might even be a combine, I've heard, but you also got to think about if this goes like 3 months in delays and they try to cram in as many games as possible, do they set the 2021 season back by like 2 weeks just so that they can catch up on some off-season time that's lost? Because
Yeah, I don't know.
if you play into December, that's like a 1.5 month off season for whoever's in the World Series.
Yeah, especially if you gotta like slug. Now, when I said doubleheader games, that wouldn't be like every day.
No,
Like you get a couple double headers here and there, maybe like
like
4
one
or 5, but
like say one a week
yeah,
at best. But yeah, it's a thorny issue for the Players Association. That would be something they'd have to bargain with the union.
yeah.
But
Um,
I imagine definitely the next off season, because of this delay, and presumably if they have they push everything back and we go into November or December, we'll probably see a frenzied free agency just
Yeah.
because of how short it is. You won't have time to sit on the market as much as you used to.
Yeah. Now you mentioned college baseball. I want to talk a little bit about the college basketball as a transition for a transition. Um, Now March Madness was canceled, and that's a big time where a lot of players can make a big statement about who they are, help their team get to that Final Four and to the championship and whatnot, and give themselves a little bit of a boost in the draft. But I was actually looking forward to because my old stomping ground, Siena, looked to possibly get uh, a berth in March Madness because they were the number one seed in the MAC heading into that tournament. They had won, I think, the first round. They were awaiting to go to the semifinals, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And they finished the season with 10 wins in a row, going 20-10. I was super excited. The tournament was going to be held in Atlantic City. I was like all psyched. I was like, all right, I'm going to go to Atlantic City for the weekend, relax, watch a basketball game. And that did not happen. That got canceled. And actually, do you know why Siena was so sick in the basketball series?
Is that
Because
the
apparently
is
someone.
that the right word you should have used at this point?
Yes, because as transition, some sort of faculty member actually has coronavirus.
Oh,
So yeah, I don't think that really aided anything, but
no.
that's
It
sort
just
of like
they
some
just saved
news.
you. Oh, sorry.
No, that's just sort of some news on that end.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that the Mac saved you the embarrassment of watching your vaunted team get trounced by Marist.
Marist wouldn't have beaten us.
We'll never know.
You know what? You know what? I think we're enemies again.
Oh dang it! Well, we gotta last another 8 minutes, so.
Um, so yeah, now to sort of I guess bring into football season wise because that's
some ac-
actually that's
some
sort of the
actual
only
news.
sport that's actually doing things right now. They ratified the players accepted the new CBA deal, which will run for the next 10 years to 2030, and basically, well, the owners gave the player reps the option. They gave it out, and the reps approved it 17 votes to 14 votes. So really close. But they sent that to the players, and about 2,000 players voted. And the difference of yes and no agreeing to the new CBA was about 60 players. And about 500 players, if I'm reading this right, did not vote. So I feel like it should be at least like when you have like proper legislation in the U.S. courts, you need like a 2/3 majority or something. I really think you really need something like that because having 60 vote difference with 500 players that didn't vote, uh, I don't really understand that. I don't like the whole 17 games. Players have a hard enough time making it through 16 games, sometimes even 14 games. So this is going to be crazy. I mean, it'll make fantasy football a lot more interesting, I guess. But now you're not having that second seed, have that bye week, so now you really have to fight for that number one seed. But with this new CBA getting done, now you're having all the free agents take place and trades and whatnot. And the biggest thing we saw was the Texans trade star wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins to the Arizona Cardinals. And the Texans have said his best days are behind him, and they're being in the league for like 8 years now. I mean, probably. I mean, he's only missed like 2 games his entire career, and he's put up at least 800 yards in all of them, 1,000 yards in all but 2 of them, and he definitely would be like a good player to have on a team that just needs like a wide receiver to bring them to the next level.
You could do a lot worse.
But going to the Cardinals, they have a lot more issues to fix than just wide receiver. I mean, they have future Hall of Famer Larry Fitzgerald, who, yes, he is getting older and isn't as good as he used to be, but he's still a pretty good choice, which is nice to give him a complementary weapon. But it going to the Cardinals was not the right move. I mean, he seems to be happy for it. Kyler Murray, the quarterback for the Cardinals, seems to be happy about it. So maybe it's a good thing, but the Cardinals definitely need to add more on defense and whatnot before they're serious contenders. Uh,
You think, but we've been surprised by
yeah,
other things before. Remember when Ivan Rodriguez signed with the Tigers, and everyone's like, "What are you doing? This team just lost 114 games the previous year, and then 2 years later, he's up there in the World Series,
yeah.
proving everyone wrong." So, who knows? Maybe Larry Fitzgerald will see glory one more time.
Yeah, yeah, because the Steelers robbed him of a Super Bowl. I mean, I'm not complaining. I like the Steelers, but, um, yeah, no. So this is going to be interesting. The next sort of major domino we're looking at is where Tom Brady is going to re-sign. I mean,
Yeah,
I still think it's going to be with the Patriots. I mean,
it has to be Patriots or retirement. Is he really going to do a Brett Favre and
yeah, I don't.
just
I mean,
ruin the end
the
of his career?
Buccaneers seem like they're going to be they're really serious about this. There was some crazy rumors that the 49ers would ship Jimmy Garoppolo back to the Patriots, and then the Patriots would get Tom Brady, so that the 49ers, who have a good defense and a good offensive line, Brady would give the 49ers a Super Bowl within these next year or two. But then the Patriots would be set for the next 10 years with Garoppolo.
Yeah,
Seems a little far-fetched, but who knows what really goes on at that
yeah.
New England camp.
Yeah, if I was Brady, I would just say it's Patriots or that's it, because you can make the argument that other Hall of Famers have jumped ship at the end of their careers before. Brett Favre and Peyton Manning come to mind, but Brett Favre was who knew what's happening with him because he kept retiring and unretiring.
Well, the thing with Brett Favre mostly was they had Aaron Rodgers sitting behind him, and the Packers knew he was a gold mine. He was a future starter, Hall of Famer. They knew he was good, and Favre was getting old but still wanted to play, and they couldn't sit on Aaron Rodgers backing him up anymore.
True.
And Rodgers did win them a Super Bowl within those first couple of years. So
Yeah.
Favre sort of switched that way.
Yeah, and Peyton Manning was coming off a lost year where you didn't know what you were going to get after him.
Yeah,
So
and then
the Colts were.
and then you
wise to
got
move
Andrew
on.
Luck, who should be a surefire Hall of Famer, although he called it quits at the end of last year.
Yeah, to each
so-
their own. If he lost interest in the game,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
good on him for not trying to push through it.
Yeah. So,
But yeah, I mean Eli Manning, honestly, despite what some people said the struggles, he probably could have found
yeah, he probably could have.
another team. But he said he wanted to remain a Giant,
Yep.
and that's good on him.
Yep.
As I said, we see how many players you find a random team that they end their careers on. Like Frank Thomas ended his illustrious Hall of Fame career on the Oakland Athletics on a 1-year team. Mike Piazza finished with, I believe, either the A's or the Padres. He was on both of them at the end of his career.
Yeah, but he was also on the Dodgers and Mets too. So
Yeah, but that's what he was known for. That he was known for being the middle of the order guy on them, not for just being a role player
Yeah.
on
Oh,
a
okay, I see
fourth place
what you
team.
mean.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I mean. Players who you know are on
Yeah.
for this one team, and then you forget that they ended their careers.
Hideki
Uh,
Matsui.
Yeah, Matsui,
Mm-hmm.
Posada very nearly because he was considering, but then said, you know what, I'm a Yankee and I'm going to end it that way.
Yep.
But yeah, hopefully, if I was Brady, your career is known as a Patriot. for good
Yeah.
and for ill. Take that with you to the Hall of Fame.
The
Not
only thing that is,
someone
I'd
else.
be interested to see if Brady does go somewhere else, if him and or Belichick do well without the other, and see maybe one of them struggles, one of them doesn't. See, oh, it really was Brady. Oh, it really was Belichick and
It really was
McDaniels.
deflating the footballs.
It maybe. Who knows? Maybe
Yeah,
Andrew Luck would still be in the playoffs.
yeah.
um, but I
Well,
think
that's about it for now. We're going into very interesting times in both the sporting world and just the world in general.
yeah, I mean, if I get shut down from work, I'll have a lot more free time, I guess, to do breaking news videos if those even come out.
Yeah, whenever we have breaking news,
Yeah, so
probably the
we'll
only
actually get to cover that.
yeah probably the only breaking news we'll have is when everyone says that the crisis is over, time to get everything back to normal.
Yeah. So go figure. We'll finally get the breaking news, and it's not gonna be like
It's no
anything.
Yeah, I was hoping maybe Yaziel Puig, but
Yeah.
that's gonna have to wait.
Yep.
Yeah,
Um,
but
so
yeah,
I guess the only thing to say is I'll do some crunches, work on my 6 pack,
wash
maybe
your
get an eight
hands.
pack. Wash my hands. Gotta scrub the entire body.
Yeah, wash everything.
I'll tell
Uh,
you my way to get the fans back in the audience after we sign off, because
yeah,
don't want YouTube taking us down.
yeah.
All right. Until then, I'll see you later. Peace out.
Peace. Stay safe, everyone.
Wash your hands.